Hello everyone, this is Julie, Kansas City girl in a Colorado world, and this is a special edition Flosstube. This is my summer 2023 mid-year WIP Parade. So if you stumbled on this video and you don't know what a WIP Parade is, WIP is W-I-P, as you'll see in the title, and that stands for Work in Progress. So when in the cross stitch community, when we say this is my WIP, it means this is a project that I have started stitching on, but I have not finished. So it's a work in progress. And parade is self-explanatory. During a WIP parade, you parade out all of your old WIPs. So this is something I've been doing since I started filming Flosstubes. And a lot of people do them at the very end of the year or the very beginning of the year. And I will sometimes do that as well. But due to being on the road and having most of my stash in storage, I couldn't do that in December or January of this past year. So as it turns out, I'm in Colorado this week and I'm near where we have our storage unit. So I'm gonna insert, like, it's a super short clip. It's like maybe 30 seconds. So let me insert that so you can see where my cross stitch stash has been living. I'm visiting the storage unit. I put all of my cross stitch stuff up front. These are WIPs and kitted up things, and then there are several boxes back. It goes, I think, 3 deep there. I'm gonna have to dig some of this out, but I did make sure to keep the cross stitch stash within easy access. So I'm gonna get all this out and grab all my WIPs. So this week I was able to visit storage and I grabbed all of my WIPs and I brought them back into our camper. I'm gonna film the WIP parade, and then I'm going to sort through and kind of decide what I'm taking with me on this next leg of our trip, because we are still on the road. So no immediate plans to settle down anywhere, but things could change. Things are very much in flux right now. But for now we're on the road. So I wanted to kind of refresh the stash that I have with me here in the camper. So we're going to do the WIP parade. So I wanted to talk just real quick. I promise I'll be brief. Because I know you guys want to see the cross stitch, but I actually got to thinking, like, who started WIP parades in the Flosstube community? Like, where did this start? When did this start? And I asked my friend Amy. She's Gables Stitcher on Flosstube and Instagram, and I don't think she's done a mid-year WIP parade, but she did do one at the very end of December or the very beginning of January. If you want to go, I'll link her below. You can go check hers out, because it was like chef's kiss. It was such a good WIP parade. But anyway, I was asking her because she has been watching Flosstube like from the beginning. And she was thinking that Jessie Marie Does Stuff was probably, was the first one she could remember, and kind of like her thoughts. And we could be wrong here. But she was thinking Jessie Marie Does Stuff kind of like invented the WIP parade, at least for the Flosstube community. So I actually did a YouTube search. I was trying to find out, like, who was doing it first. And the earliest WIP parade I could find was like very beginning January of 2017. And it was the Evergreen needle who did that. And then several other people did them in 2017 and 2018 and on. I went back and stalked Jessie Marie's channel and looked at all her old videos, and she did do a WIP parade in 2016. So that would have been the first I could find. However, it wasn't a cross stitch WIP parade. It was a knitting WIP parade. So I do think that she probably introduced the concept of a WIP parade to the community. Did the knitting one, and then other people started doing them for cross stitch, and then she did a cross stitch WIP parade also in 2017, I believe. So, you know, I could be wrong. I could be very wrong, but I do think that Jessie Marie Does Stuff was like the OG WIP parade. I think it was her. I do. So anyway, that's that's where it started. I'm sure people before that had done a WIP parade, but just not called it that. Probably had done like a WIP review, or, you know, like, here's all my WIPs. But I think like the WIP parade was Jessie Marie Does Stuff, who probably borrowed that from the knitting community. But regardless, just a little history lesson. If I can find, if I can link easily, I will link some of those old videos. If you guys want to go just watch that blast from the past. But let's get started with the WIP parade. I have my handy dandy list of WIPs here. There's something about like the pen and paper and writing them out that I just really works for me. I've tried doing like digital tracking and doing different forms of tracking, and just a simple list is still my preference. And I just recently rewrote my list out. So I have 88 WIPs to show you today. Now, I know some of you are clutching your pearls, are freaking out, are thinking, oh my God, that's so many. How is that possible? And you know, that's fair. That's fair. But I know some of you have more than that. And also some of you have absolutely no problem with 88 WIPs. And I don't have a problem with having 88 WIPs. So like, just, you know, like, worry about yourself. If it's a problem for you, like, don't watch. Just don't watch. I'm not saying like I've been like harassed or anything, but like occasionally I'll get like a snarky comment or kind of a shitty comment that's like, you know, like, oh my God, like, that's crazy. How could, like, when are you ever going to stitch all those? You know, something like that. It really doesn't bother me. But just throwing that out there. If this is something that bothers you, don't watch. And I get it. Some people are like, I can't have more than 5. I can't have more than 2. I can't have more than 1. Like, we're all different strokes for different folks. But regardless, I have 88, and that is a lot, and I acknowledge that. However, most years I've clocked in around 100. So I think this is a smaller WIP parade for me. I've been trying really hard to finish some old WIPs. My goal this year is to finish 40 old WIPs. I am almost at 20, so halfway through the year, and I'm almost at the halfway point, so I'm feeling good about that. But that's why instead of 100, I have 88 right now. Whatever, let's get started. Let's look at some WIPs. These are not ironed because I wasn't ironing 88 of these. There was no way, no how. Cleaning up after a WIP parade is an experience. So I'm not going to be taking patterns out of their plastic. I hopefully, like, I hold these to where there's not a terrible glare. Anyway, let's get started. My oldest WIP, because I recently finished my truly oldest WIP. You'll see that in my next Flosstube. So this was my second oldest WIP. This is Plum Street Samplers Jack's Bash, and this is how it looks. I'm stitching this on 36 count platinum, which is just a stock Zweigart color. And it's not like mottled or very exciting. It's just kind of a plain neutral. And I've actually got a lot done on this. I might focus on trying to finish this year. Hopefully these are going to be in frame. I really apologize if I've cut something off or if something's not showing up well. I don't have my usual filming set up here on the road, and it's really hard for me to see like what you're seeing in frame. I shouldn't say it's hard I literally cannot see what you're seeing in frame. So I apologize if anything isn't coming through very clearly. And also because I have 88 of these, I'm gonna kind of go through quick. I'm not gonna talk about a lot of detail because we would be here for 3 hours. My next WIP is Rosewood Manor Autumn Quakers. This is such a beautiful pattern. It's really big and I don't have a lot done, but it is gorgeous. I'm using the Valdani floss pack that came with it. They come in, oh, I dropped one. I gotta remember to get that later. They come in these little spools, and then I think there's 6 strands, and I think the directions were to use 3 strands. So you do have to split those. I'm using the called for 28 count Picture This Plus doubloon, and here's my little start. It's not much, I know. The colors are very beautiful. That's not what I'm gonna be focused on finishing this year because it will take too long. Ooh, this is one I did get to work on this past winter, and I hope to finish this this winter. This is Heap on the Wood by Brenda Gervais. I'm not sure. So here's the pattern. I don't know why it's sideways like this. That's how Jack's Bash was as well. That must have been that year. That must have been like the style. Anyway, here's Heap on the Wood by Brenda Gervais. I'm stitching this on 32 count Picture This Plus Wren. A lot of these older WIPs are on Picture This Plus because at the time, that's what my LNS mostly stocked. And I do love the colors of Picture This Plus linen. I love it very much, but it's much harder to get now. And I don't think my LNS even carries it anymore just because they can't ever get like their order in. But at the time, this is what they had. So a lot of these are going to be on Picture This Plus. So yeah, I've got, I think at least half of this done. Maybe a titch more than half. So then I also had started Rosewood Manor Winter Quakers. And by the way, these are my 2017 WIPs. So I started seriously cross-stitching in 2017. I dabbled in like 2015, 2016, and we're talking like one kit from Michaels that I would work on once and then not touch for like 3 months. But I started to seriously cross-stitch in 2017. So this is Rosewood Manor Winter Quakers. And I'm stitching this on 28 count hand-dyed by Stephanie fabric in the color Snowdrifts. And I'm using the floss pack, the Valdani floss pack. And I've got more done on this one than I did on Autumn Quakers. This has a good start. So now we're into 2018. It's not that I had finished all of those 2017 WIPs. What's really happened is over the years, I've abandoned a lot of those WIPs because I was very new to cross stitching. Sometimes I would pick a fabric I would just settle on something maybe and it wasn't quite right. Or at the time I thought it would be okay, but as my tastes have developed, I've realized I don't like that fabric. So I have finished a few, but a lot of them I've given up over the years. So. All right, 2018. Let Freedom Ring by Leela's Studio. This is a big pattern. I mean, look at this Philadelphia haul. Like it's like full coverage. It's a lot of stitching. This is such a beautiful pattern. And whenever I see someone's finished it, it's always so beautiful. But it's a lot of stitching. This is on 35 count Old New England linen from Primitive Hair, and I'm using all the called for fabric, which is like a mix, or the floss, it's a mix of DMC and Gentle Arts, I think. So I love this fabric. I've got a good start on that building, but there's still a lot to go. Ink Circles Get Crackin'. This is one I actually have on my short list to finish for my 40 this year. So hopefully you'll be seeing this again and it might be a finish. It'll at least be a work in progress. This is on 36 count Picture This Plus Serene, which is just this kind of aqua minty pale green blue. And I'm using the Called For Gloriana Silks, which are just like a dream to stitch with. I think that might have been like my first project with silk. There's that. This was one of the first stitch alongs I ever joined. I still love this project so much. It's just embarrassing that I haven't ever finished it. This is Ingleside Imaginarium, Guardians of Notre Dame. I love pretty much everything she designs, but her stitch alongs are always so good. I just can't join every single one because I have to finish one someday. But I have another one in this WIP Parade, but this is Guardians of Notre Dame. This is such a cool pattern. It looks so great. This is a 28 count linen that I dyed myself. And I am 1/4 done. But I love it. I don't love back stitching, and this is like a pretty intense back stitch, but the effect you cannot deny. So that back stitch is worth any annoyance that I have with back stitching. It's worth it because it's amazing. Okay, so this is my chatelaine. This wasn't, I had started another chatelaine, but I UFO'd that because I didn't like the fabric. So, and I haven't ever restarted it. It was blue Moroccan lace. I have it fully kitted up. I picked horrible fabric on that. And that's what I'm saying when a lot of these older projects I've gotten rid of. It's not because I don't love them. I truly picked the wrong fabric for that, and it made it really difficult to stitch. So maybe someday I'll restart it. I have it kitted up, but on better fabric. Anyway, this is the chatelaine I have not abandoned. This is Marie Antoinette, and I am stitching this on, I think it's a 32 count Picture This Plus. Yes, 32 count in French lilac. And I know that the blue kind of gets lost on this dark purple fabric, but there are going to be beads added in there, and I think the beads will help that blue show up a little better. I mean, in real life, it's not bad. You can see it, but it's definitely like, you know, again, I was very new to cross stitching, and I didn't always know what I was doing, or I thought I knew what I was doing. And this probably wasn't the right fabric choice. I like the overall effect, but like this deep blue is definitely getting lost on the fabric. This is one that, again, I'm just embarrassed that I've never finished this. There's just really no excuse for it. I mean, it's a tiny pattern. I don't know why I haven't finished it. This is Pineberry Lane, Autumn on Marigold Lane. This is absolutely on my list of 40 things to finish because it's so small. I could definitely do it. This is on 36 count Vintage Light Exemplar Lakeside Linens, good old Lakeside Linens. So those are, that can be, they can be extremely hard to find these days. But in 2018, my LNS had a great stash of Lakeside Linens, and I bought several at the time. So here's my start on Autumn at Marigold Lane. And then I have this sampler that I cannot wait to get back to. I love this project. This is Barbara Anna Designs Snooty Parrot Sampler. I salved this with Betsy Klager, and this is like kind of how we became friends way back when. We actually met up at a stitch-in at the LNS at some point, and like both had our project with us. If I remember, I'll put a picture in because it's a cute picture. I think I'm wearing this shirt in that picture, which is crazy. Okay, anyway, this is my fabric is it's Stars Hollow blend by R&R. So there's a reason for that. So this is 40 count R&R Reproductions Stars Hollow blend. So I took the Snooty Parrot sampler and I customized it to make it a Gilmore Girls theme. And so Stars Hollow blend fabric ended up being perfect. I also changed all the floss to silks, and it was mostly like dinky dyes, just random silks I had in my stash, but still in the same colors as the pattern. I didn't change the idea of the pattern. I just converted to silks that I had. And so here is Snooty Parrots, and I hope to have this finished this year. Okay, Witch's Hollow by Primitive Needle. I found this pattern at my craft thrift store. It's a thrift store that only sells craft stuff, and I paid like $5 for this pattern, which was a lot for them. Most of their patterns are $1 or $2, and I was like, why is this one $5? Like that seems like so much. I didn't know that it was because at the time, I know now, I didn't know at the time it was incredibly rare. So I showed in a video like my haul, and I remember Diana, It Is Kismet Stitches, messaged me and was like, girl, that pattern is so hard to find. Like, you got that for $5? Are you kidding? So this is Primitive Needle Witch's Hollow. This is a working copy. I have it tucked away safely so it doesn't get damaged. This is a really big pattern. I'm using all the called for floss. I'm stitching it on 40 count Murky by Picture This Plus. And this is where I'm at. I think I'm through like the most dense part of that. All right, so this is another old Sal. I think this designer I don't think she even is in the community anymore. And honestly, I'm not even sure if like she still has her Etsy shop up. I don't know if this is even available. This is the Works of Jane Austen Sal. It's by Suburban Ennui. And I am stitching this with all the called for DMC on a 36 count linen from XG Designs. This color I think is called Dark Mountain. This was a fabric of the month for August of 2018. And yeah, Dark Mountain is the name. I think since then she's actually released this. Like, I think you can get this color in like her permanent line. Sorry, the camera is shaking. Arlo's crawling under the table, so sorry about that. Here's my progress. And I think it's all the called for DMC colors. I'd like to get back to that soon. But I don't think that's finishable this year for me. So it probably will go back in storage. All right, so then I got the Primitive Needle Blacked Sky. We're still in 2018. This is stitched on another XG Designs. I think it was also a fabric of the month. I think it's a 36 count linen, and the color I think is called Cinnamon Roll. And I did a conversion for this. It's all the same, like, you know, the same colors that the designer charted, but just in different flosses that I had in stash. So I've got one block done, and I've got a good start on the second block. And I said this in my last WIP Parade, and I will say it again because I think it was Diana, It Is Kismet Stitches, who pointed out that in this diamond border up at the top, these diamonds are all 2 spaces apart, but there is one part in the border where the diamond is 3 spaces in between. So if you don't catch that, you will be off on your end. So I remember she pointed that out in a video, and I like ran and grabbed mine and checked, and sure enough, I had missed it. So I had to make it up somewhere else. So if you're stitching this, watch out for that. They're all 2 spaces apart except for in one one is 3 spaces apart. It could be anywhere. Mine's not where it was supposed to be, but it made up the count so that my box is all worked out. And then Away We Ride. This has just been re-released. A bunch of people are starting this, and there's a big stitch along going on. I think Abby at Top Knot Stitcher is kind of hosting the stitch along. I did have this back in 2018 and I started it then. But the good news is that if you love this pattern, you can get it now. It has been reprinted, and I think I'm using, I want to say I'm using the called fors, but I'm not 100% sure. If I didn't have something, I'd grab something really close. This is R&R linen, 36 count. This is called Plum Street Blend. It's a really pretty neutral. And I've got to start on the little house in the center. Not much. This is Barbara Anna Rampant Cats sampler. I have the smallest start on this, but it's not that much stitching, and I really hope to like actually just get this all stitched up someday. I don't have a big start, but I still love it. So this was a 32 count Jobelin even weave that I dyed myself. It's tea and coffee dyed, and I'm just using the DMC for this. See, it's not that big. All right, and then my last WIP of 2018 was another primitive needle. Can you tell I was like having a moment? This is my 3rd primitive needle I started that year. This is Salem Remembered. This is also a working copy because these charts are precious. One thing I want to point out, if anybody's stitching this, one of the names is misspelled. So it's down here. It's down here towards the bottom. Samuel Wardwell. She forgot the W, so it says Samuel Wardell, but it's Wardwell. So if you are stitching this and you want to fix that, you just have to kind of shift the letters a little bit and add that W in there so that you get the name right. This is Primitive Hair linen, and it's 40 count Old Massachusetts. I have a very small start on this. I thought the linen Old Massachusetts was fitting for the Salem Remembered. All right, so let's move into 2019 WIPs. This is Quiltify Designs, Quiltify Design, I'm gonna get it. All Souls Vierlanden. This is a black and white printout. You just pick your own, pick whatever color. It's a monochrome sampler. Pick whatever color you like. I'm stitching this on 40 count vintage buttercream from Lakeside Linens. Like I said, back then, this wasn't so hard to get a hold of from my LNS. And I'm using a DMC color variations, and there's my teeny tiny little start. And this is this color variations is like kind of an autumnal colors. It goes from like, here, I'll just show you the skein. It goes from like purple to deep brown to rusty to black to navy. It's just deep dark fall colors. I love this floss. Literally every time I'm at Michael's or Joann's and they have the color variations, I just like pet it like every time. I love it. All right. So in 2019, the Blue Flower came to Nashville Needlework Market and like just took it by storm. With this pattern, everybody like lost their mind over this pattern. This is Quilting Bee. It's still, I mean, it's so great. It's such a good pattern. I remember like they sold out, like she didn't bring enough, like she had no idea it was going to be, you know, do so well. And then, you know, it was like back ordered while she reprinted more because we loved it so much. This is on Extra Design fabric. I think this might be cinnamon roll. Anyway, this is a cool fabric though. It's got some yellow and some dark like charcoal modeling, and there's my little start. I didn't have all the called for colors, so if I didn't have it, I grabbed something that looked the same from my stash. All right, so then I have Michelle Ink Quaker Gone Haunted. This is a great pattern. I never see this one like getting stitched as much. This is on a color and cotton fabric. It came in a Halloween box, like that they'd had that Halloween before. So it's a limited edition. It doesn't have a name. It's a 36 count linen, and I'm using all the called for flosses for this. And the linen is stunning. Look at this linen. It's so good. I love it. It's got like purple modeling and blue and green. It's really pretty. But here is my start on this. And then I couldn't resist starting another Quiltify design. So I had started the All Souls Vierlanden, and this is the All Souls band. So it's kind of the same idea, but it's much smaller. And I started this on 40 count linen from Under the Sea Fabrics in the color Heaven's Fury, and I'm using DMC 115, which is this beautiful variegated red. And here's my little start. This is not a lot of stitching to this pattern, so I started here in the middle, this skull, and then this is the end. So that's, you know, it's not too wide. And I love how that's looking. And this one is one I might use to reach my 40 goal. We will see. I need to look at all of these and kind of see, really see how much stitching is left. And sometimes you look at something and you're like, oh my gosh, there's like barely any stitching left. It's almost done. And then when you really get into it, you're like, no, there's still 5,000 stitches left. So this is Lakeside Needlecraft Spooky Halloween. I love this pattern. This was a stitch along I think they did in 2017. And I dyed my own 28 count Monaco because I couldn't find a good orange fabric at the time, or I didn't want to order and wait. So I went and got Rit dye and I did my own. And then I'm using the called for floss. I love it. I love my fabric. All right, where are we? Okay. Blackbird Designs at First Cox Crow. This is in a booklet called Sisters, and it has several patterns in it. And this is one of the patterns in that booklet at First Cox Crow. And I think I'm using some of the called for, and then some I just, substituted stuff from stash. This is on 40 count linen from Color and Cotton, and the color is called Sampler Gold. And look how little this is. It's tiny. This is the end. Like, look how little it is. It looks like it's gonna like a decent size, but it is itty bitty. It's so cute and petite. All right, so I have Stacy Nash Halloween at Hollyberry Farm. This is a really big pattern. This pattern The called for threads do not look like the cover picture. For various reasons, they just don't. So I actually ended up substituting threads and using my own threads. I also dyed my own linen, just to try to get to something that looked like the cover. This is a 36 count linen that I dyed myself. I'm really happy with how it came out. I've kind of got like some rusty orangey splashes in there. And here's my little start on the house, that big humongous house. Then we have Prairie Moon, Thine is the Trick and the Treat. This used to be like one of the hardest patterns to find. I think now you can get it as a PDF from their website. And I don't have a big start on this, but I really love the colors I've chosen. So this is a Picture This Plus fabric. I think it's 40 count, and I think it's Velt. And here's my little start. And for the floss, I wanted to do something special. So I treated myself to some Classic Color Works Belle Soie silks. And this color is called Plush Plum. It's so beautiful. It's like a plummy, super dark, purpley into brownish. I mean, it's plum. It's a plush plum. It's so pretty. And I love how it's looking on this fabric. That. And then we have, oh, I love this one. Mirabilia The Baker's Wife. This was not my first Mirabilia, but I think this was my second one. I love this one. She's got that baby pink hair. She's got the powdered like French courtesan complexion. Such a great pattern. I'm stitching this with all the called for floss, and I'm stitching this on a 28 or 32 count Picture This Plus fabric. It's a crystal fabric, so it's got some sparkles in it, and it's in the color Flapper. And that is my little start on that. So then I started Hands Across the Sea, Anne Thomas, 1854. This is such a great sampler. I'm using a 40 count Beach Walk from Under the Sea Fabrics, and I'm using the DMC on this. So it started with, is it NPIs? No, Averswa. It started with Averswa silks, but it has so many colors. I mean, it has a ton of floss, and there was just no way. So I did the DMC, and I think it looks so good with the DMC. So I'm happy I did not try to splurge on all those silks. I know I don't have a very big start, but I mean, it looks great. There's the pigeon. He's looking fabulous. This project is a stitch along called Chopping Mall by the Witchy Stitcher. This is not a good picture, but this is kind of how the final one would look, but I like made notes and marked all over it, so that's not a great representation. I'm going to make a lot of changes on this. I've talked about it before. I think in my last WIP Parade I went into more detail, but I committed to this stitch along, like, just, I don't know, I was just excited. And then like as the pieces started coming out, I was like, I don't watch horror movies. Like, why did I do this? Like, so I'm changing things to like movies that at least I've watched and enjoyed. The call, like the stitch along as is awesome if you like slasher or like horror flicks. It's great. But I was like, oh, I haven't seen like half of these movies. So I've got a whole like layout, you know, like figured out. But I'm going to substitute in like movies that are in the genre but aren't like slasher fix. or slasher flicks, that are movies I know. So anyway, all that to say, here's where I'm at on this. This is 28 count Monaco that I dyed myself. These top 3 rooms, or stores at the shopping mall are original, like, to the pattern. So it's, Michael Myers, Chucky, and The Bride of Chucky, and Freddy Krueger. And I had seen all those, so I was like, all right, I'll leave those. But then I kind of got stalled because I hadn't seen all the other movies. So someday I'll get back to that, and you'll see all the changes. So this is my other Ingleside Imaginarium stitch along. This is called Kaluna Brightburns. Oh, this is such a mouthful. Kaluna Brightburns, Catalog for Witches Familiars. This was her 2020 mystery stitch along. But I started, the frame was released in December of 2019. So I did start it as a 2019 WIP. But here is what the finished stitch along will look like. And I have a decent start on this. I'm stitching this on a 40 count linen from a company who I will not endorse or recommend. I mean, I'll tell you, let's talk about it. Victorian Motto. I do not recommend. I know so many people who have been scammed from them, who were in their Fabric of the Month club, paid multiple months, never received what they paid for. It's a whole thing. They finally, I think, admitted that they couldn't keep up with their Fabric of the Month and Floss of the Month club, and now I think just strictly sell like not of the month kind of thing. Like they just put their stock up that they have and you can go buy it. But because of just the absolutely atrocious experience that many of my friends had, I will not recommend anybody ever purchase from them ever. Victorian Motto Shop, no, it's a no, dog. Anyway, it's a pretty linen, but it's not worth it, guys. It's not worth it. This is my start on Kaluna Brightburn's Catalog for Witches Familiars. So I'm almost halfway. And they didn't take long. This might be one, I need to like look, but I think this might be one I could finish because if I remember right, each section took 1 or 2 days. It wasn't bad. All right, so now, nope, we're not into 2020 yet. I have a couple more that I started in 2019 before the year ended. So I have Mirabilia Lilith of Labrador. This is my only Mirabilia mermaid. I love many Mirabilia mermaids and certainly would hope to stitch more in the future, but this was like the one when this came out. I love her. She is just like kind of gray and purpley and creepy. I love her. So I'm stitching her with all the called for floss and all that. And this is a fabric flare. No, it's not fabric flare. It's crosswing. This is a crosswing collection fabric. Yeah, it's a crosswing collection, 28 count, and it's called Deep Sea. I think this is facing the right way. I don't have very much done. This is her arm. So, tiny start on that. My last WIP from 2019 is the Linen and Threads, now Fox and Rabbit, mystery sampler. This was their 2020 sampler, but I started it New Year's Eve of 2019 because in Australia they're ahead of us. So when they released it on January 1st of 2020, it was still December 31st, 2019 here. So anyway, I started it. This is a really bad printout, but it's a Quaker. This is what it's going to look like when it's all said and done. And I'm stitching mine on 40 count. It's a 40 count fabric called Mallow. It's a blend of linen and flax. I really love this fabric. This is, it's kind of got like an oatmeal kind of look. It's like an even weave texture, so your stitches look really good. I really enjoy stitching on this. And here's how much, I had a decent start on this. I'm stitching this with DMC color variations in the shade. It's a 4240 is the shade. It's like a blue, purple, blurple-y kind of color. The purple doesn't show up as much on here. It's mostly just blue. It's really pretty. Okay, so now we are into 2020. Wow. That was a year, wasn't it? So before the panini, I started a few things. All right, so first thing is the Designer's Motif Sampler by R&R Reproductions. This is an old pattern. It's from 1997. She's old. I know that's not a great picture. This is so old, it's a hand-drawn chart. Stitching this on Lakeside Linen. Lakeside Linens, 36 count maritime white. No, vintage maritime white. I have super tight margins on this. I was determined to make it work. I'm using the called for DMC. And I kind of got stuck in the over one verse, but I'm almost done. Almost done with it. With the over one verse, not the whole chart. Okay, so then I have the Adventures of Alice stitch along from Cross Stitcher magazine, which this was the stitch along that was happening in the magazine in 2020. I don't have a printout of the completed, but you kind of get the idea. So this was, you know, the border came out, and then each month you got one of the blocks, and these stitch up actually really fast. The blocks are very small, so you can actually stitch them up really quick, but the border takes forever to stitch because it's like super intricate back stitch. It's really, really, really fiddly and really tedious, but the actual blocks aren't too bad. This is a picture this plus 32 count. I don't remember what it's called. Oh, it's Legacy. 32 count Legacy. This is a pretty color. This was a start I had on Blackbird Designs Feliz Navidad that I gave up. Anyway, here's where I'm at. I love the way this looks. I think what really stalled me was the border. I like the block. I like stitching the blocks. I hate this border. I hate it. It's so horrible. I mean, it looks great. It looks super good. It's just so horrible to stitch. So anyway, that's that. Then I started a Mill Hill project. This is quite the undertaking. I think it was Stephanie at Miss Oh So Crafty who took all of the Mill Hill Christmas Village buttons and beads and put them all on like one piece of fabric and made like a whole Christmas village. So I decided to do that with the buttons and beads Halloween patterns. And so I have one done, but I have 8 more to go. This is a fabric I dyed myself. It's a 32 count, and this is the first one I chose was the Haunted Library. So this is the library. It's all done and beaded. And then I have 8 more that I'm gonna fill in there. And wouldn't you know it, this year they finally came out with another Halloween Village buttons and beads. I really like it too. So I think I'm going to swap out, of the 9 I chose, there was just like one that I didn't love, but it was like all that I had, you know, there weren't other options. So, secretly I was like always hoping they would come out with a different one and maybe I could plug it in, and they finally came out with a new one this year. I don't remember what it is, but I love it compared to like the other one. So I'm gonna sub that one in. I need to get that and then sub it in. So yeah, just 8 more of those to go. Just 8 more, no big deal. All right, so then I have, oh my gosh, I was just talking to Marissa about this pattern earlier this morning. This is Things I Know for Certain by Kissa Designs, or no, Kissa Creations. This is her Practical Magic pattern, and this is definitely on my list to finish up this year. But it's one of those where it's deceptive because like all I have left to do are all the witches at the bottom, and you're like, cool, no big deal. But like each witch is over 1,000 stitches and there's a whole row of them. So it's like, it feels like maybe it's not that much, but it's probably like 5,000 stitches, but it is all fill in. You just outline and fill in. This was a linen that Diana dyed and gifted to me. And I'm just using like color and cotton random flosses. So this is one I plan to finish up this year. What else do we have in here? I think we're getting to the end of this bin. Yep, there it is. Okay. All right, so Not Forgotten Farms, Sisters of the Broom. This is an awful picture. This pattern, the pattern's great. The picture is fuzzy. So I don't know that you're seeing a whole lot there, but not a great picture of that, but great pattern. This is on 40 count Meyer from Picture This Plus. This is like my favorite Halloween fabric. Look how great this is. It's green and murky and purpley. It's awesome. Such a great Halloween fabric. And I'm using the called for DMCs. Then I have Kathy Barrick. I love Kathy Barrick so much. This is AH2EE. This is a really small Quaker. It's it looks like a pretty good size, but it's actually very small. And my friend Amy started this with me. Like we were stitching along on this, and she finished hers. Like she finished hers in like under 2 weeks. I unfortunately only got a tiny little start on mine. This is R&R fabric, and the color is antique. What is it? Antique Cotton is the name of the color. It's so pretty. It's just this beautiful aged kind of gold. And here's my little start. And I'm using a Threadworks for this, and I really like it. It's probably just looking kind of like a dark brown or black, but it's got, it's like a peacock kind of color. It's got a little bit of like green, a little navy, a little purple, some brown. It's really cool. I loved stitching this. I just got distracted and never got back to it. This is a fabulous pattern. This one, oh my gosh, Paper Crane Stitches. This is called it's called Rose Apothecary. So she designed this, oh my gosh, with Schitt's Creek. We were all like obsessed with it, and she came out with a few Schitt's Creek patterns. And this was the first one. So it's Rose Apothecary, and this is how it'll look. This isn't a great, like, people have stitched it. This was just like the mock-up, and now people have actually stitched it, and it looks so good when it's stitched. And I'm stitching this on an old Ship's Manor fabric called Cloud Shape. So it looks like a beautiful blue sky with clouds. And I've got the roof done. So there's still quite a bit left, but it's like block stitching. And so I might see if I can get this one finished. There's my little start on it. Not little, it took me forever to do that. But I love how it's looking. I love that one. So then I started Wicked Christmas by Sarah Guermani. This is an Italian designer, I believe. And this is a really big pattern. So it's Christmas and Halloween mashed up. You probably can't see, but it's like a village covered in snow, like Christmassy. There's a Santa, but then there's like witches riding brooms, but then they're kind of dressed like elves. Like, it's really cute. It's really cute. And I'm stitching this on a 40 count linen that I dyed myself. And I'm just using all the called for DMC. And I started in the center and worked my way down to one of the houses because I knew those were going to be like killer to stitch. So I wanted to kind of get a good start on one of those right away. But rather than like stitching all the fun, like little cute witches that are up at the top, I thought, all right, go get some work done on one of those houses. And I haven't been back to it since, but but it's a really cute pattern. So then we have Hands Across the Sea, Jane Fittis, 1835. This is so pretty. I think this is a Scottish sampler. Oh, it's so pretty. So I didn't have the called for floss, but what I did was I substituted with silks that I had in stash that had the same color. Like it's the same color story, same tone, but not the called for silks. And this is a Picture This Plus. I cannot remember the color of it. I don't know if I have it written down anywhere. I'm looking. I don't think so. I can't remember what this color was. It's a 40 count. And here's my start. Liz Matthews, Quaker Pumpkins. Well, hello from Liz Matthews is the design company. This is Quaker Pumpkins. This was one, oh my gosh, like the second she showed this, it was an immediate purchase, immediate kitted up, like start it as soon as I could. I just love it. I think this is a 36 count Picture This Plus fabric. I can't remember what the color is. I can't remember what color this is. I'm using the called for flosses and I've got the center motif done. I don't think this will actually take that long to stitch. I love that pattern. Oh. This one, oh, this is such a special pattern. So this is Mirabilia Sleeping Beauty. This is a really old Mirabilia, really hard to find. This was, I think, her fifth pattern, like her fifth release. It's out of print. It's hard to track down. And Helen at East Coast Crafter, is it East Coast? I always forget. Well, on Flosstube, she's Helen D. But on Instagram, she's East Coast something. Anyway, Helen D actually found this at a thrift store for like 99 cents and asked me like if there were any Mirabilias I was looking for. And I was like jokingly was like, yeah, Sleeping Beauty, ha ha ha. And she's like, cool, I got it. I'll send it to you. So she gifted me this. Now she stitches Mirabilia. At the time, she wasn't a Mirabilia stitcher. And she was like, oh, I'll never stitch this. I wonder if her thoughts, I need to check in with her. I wonder if thoughts have changed now that she stitches Mirabilia. She might want this back. I'll give it back when I'm done, which will be someday because this is a big, big pattern. It's a big Mirabilia and it's a lot of stitching, but it's so beautiful. So this is Sleeping Beauty and I'm stitching her on 28 count Picture This Plus fabric. And what is the color called? Cyprium. Wow, that would have, good thing I kept the tag because I would have never come up with that on my own. This is on Cyprium by Picture This Plus. And here's my little start. See, this is how big she is. I had to get a fat half. Like she wouldn't fit on a fat quarter. She is big. That's the called for DMC. She's beautiful. And I'm calling her Helen in honor of Helen D gifting me that extremely hard to find, very rare out of print Mirabilia pattern. This is Leela's Studio Halloween Quaker. Very popular pattern. Very beautiful. I'm using all the called for floss and actually, incidentally, the called for fabric. This is 40 count Picture This Plus Murky. And here's my little start. It's more than a little start. It's a good start. I love this. This is a Lenarte kit. It's so beautiful. So the kit came with the fabric and the floss, and it's just called African Woman, which is a super generic name. But anyway, there it is. It's beautiful. That's a 27 count even weave fabric. And what I'm guessing is just DMC floss. And here's my start on this. So I started with like her chin and her lips are in there, and then I went into like the background. Such a beautiful pattern. Super confetti heavy. You could probably see there's so many colors in there. So it's a lot of work to stitch because there's so many colors and so much confetti, but the effect is incredible. So then this is a pattern. Oh my gosh, I missed this so much. This was my snow project, but I don't get snow anymore. I hope. I shouldn't. Being on the road, we try to avoid snow. But this was something I used to stitch on every time it snowed. And this was Santa's Magic by Mirabilia. This is now out of print and I think can be a little bit challenging to find. The reason this one looks funny is it actually was a kit from like a big box store. So it doesn't have that traditional look of like the Mirabilia with the envelope. So it's just like a printed piece of paper. But anyway, this is Santa's Magic, and I have so much done on this, but I haven't gotten to work on him in so long. I love him. This is where I'm at, and I'm using the fabric that came in the kit. I think it's like a 32 count Witchelt, and then all the like the floss and Krynic that came in the kit. And here he is. And the only change I made was I did make him a deeper skin tone, but otherwise everything is as called for. He is a lot of confetti, and a lot of Krynic. So he's, you know, a little challenging. He's not quite like a lot of Mirabilia stitch up really fast for me. This isn't one that stitches up really fast because there's so much confetti. All right, so we are at the halfway point. We're getting there. We're getting there. Maybe we'll move a little faster now. We'll see. So my next WIP is Lindy Stitch's Dracula's Confession. This was a pattern that included two versions. I decided to do the bigger like horizontal version at the bottom just because I didn't see anybody doing it. Like everybody was doing this little top one. I love them both, but I just wanted to be contrary. So I decided to do the one that no one else was doing. This is a Fortnite Fabrics. I don't know. It's a 32 count. I think it's like Grandma's Stuffin' maybe was the color. And here's my little start on this. I'm using the called for floss. I think I got the floss pack from Stephanie at Lindy Stitches when she released that pattern, which I absolutely love. This is Otoño by Satsuma Street. I love this series. She did all 4 seasons and they're so beautiful. And they use the DMC color variations, which is so great because those are flosses that I love, but like don't really ever know how to use. So it's really cool that a designer took like the whole collection and then made like a 4-season thing where you could like get into all those colors. So this is Otoño, which is the autumn. And I'm using the called for flosses, but I'm stitching this on a 32 count fabric that I dyed myself. Oh, it's so cute. Isn't it so cute? Look at those little mushrooms. It's so fun to use those flosses. And then everybody's like looks just a little bit different because the variations of the colors, you know, present differently for everybody. So this is, oh, I love this pattern. This is Modern Folk Embroidery. Jacob, my hero, can do no wrong. This is Real Comfort, a Jane Austen sampler. It's so beautiful. And this is being stitched on, what is this fabric? I can't even remember. Oh, it's a Barbaral Creations. I think she's overseas. She might be like in Hungary. I'm not sure. I just like randomly made a purchase from her on Etsy. And I actually love all the floss and fabric I got, but that was a while ago. This is a Barbaral Creations in Beige Desert. 38 count, and I'm stitching this with a Dinky Dyes charcoal floss, and it is gorgeous. I love it. So beautiful. I definitely want to get back to this. You know, I want to get back to like all of these, but that's one that like I would stitch on tonight. I need to get back to that ASAP. All right, this is a Ink Circles Dog's Declaration. I have this saddest, tiniest little start on this. It's so sad. It's so bad. I have like barely anything, but I bought the whole Valdani like floss pack. So I don't want to give up on this because I put all that money into it. This is a 46 count Under the Sea fabrics in the color Properly, is it Properly Primitive? Yeah, Properly Primitive. But it's a 46 count. Trying to make sure I have it facing the right way. Okay. And here's my little start. A very little start. This is Nevermore by Leela's Studio. I didn't even know I had so many WIPs from Leela's Studio. I have a lot. This is such a beautiful pattern. Oh my gosh. Gorgeous. And I'm stitching this with all the called for floss, which includes a few Gloriana silks. And this is on Color and Cotton. It was a fabric of the month. And it's called Prairie Dust. I don't know if that's a color that's been re-released or if it was just that one time only for fabric of the month. But here's my start on this. I think this was a stitch along with Beth, the Desert Stitcher. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure we started this together. I think she's further on it than I am. Okay, this is the Primitive Hair, The Old Winter. This is stitched with DMC, but I have I bought the fabric, the printed fabric. It's called White Flakes, so it's got these like snowflakes printed on it. It's really pretty. I thought a lot of what was like made that pattern so beautiful was the printed fabric. So here's how this is looking. I don't have that much I don't have that much stitched on it, but I do love it. Okay, Bella Filipina Bellatrix. Ooh, we're in 2021. So that was the end of the 2020s. So this was my birthday start for January 29th of 2021. This is Bellatrix. I love this pattern. I'm stitching this on a 32 count X Jude Designs fabric called Witchy Pink. And I'm using all the called for floss. And I started, I know it's not much to look at, but that was a lot of work. I got into that dress. Oh, here, let me move these. Just got into that dress and just stitched. It's a lot of stitching in that dress. I'm not even sure that's the bottom of it. No, it's not. There's more. That's not it. We're not even at the bottom of the dress. I love her. She is a lot of stitching. Now this pattern, this is such an underrated pattern. I love this pattern so much. This is Christine the Arctic Mermaid. No, Christine the Arctic Ocean Mermaid by Meridian Designs. What I love so much is we have a mermaid of color and she's not a waif, like a little twig. She's got some how do I want to put this? Like she's got a little fluff. She's an Arctic Ocean mermaid, so you know it's very that water is extremely cold, so she'd have to hold on to a little bit of fat, like deep cell fat, to like, you know, not get hypothermia. That's my thinking anyway. No, I love her. I think she's so beautiful. Like I said, totally underrated pattern. Gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. And this is on Color and Cotton 28 count in the color Periwinkle. And here is my, it's a good size start, but I haven't gotten into like the fun, like I haven't gotten into like her face or anything yet. I'm still on her tail, but it's very pretty. It's so pretty. God, I love that pattern. I've never seen, I think I've seen like one other person stitching it. Like, has anyone finished this? Like, it's so good. And then she released other mermaids. This is, I have another one. I have another one coming up. So I've started 2 of them. And then I didn't let myself start anymore because I thought, okay, I should probably finish one of those 2. This is the Witchy Stitcher Guardian of the Woods Leshy. I love the witchy stitcher. This is on XG Designs 32 count in Elixir. This is like a companion fabric to that witchy pink that I was stitching Bellatrix on. So that was the pink version, and this is the green version. Such a great fabric. Stitched with DMC, and that's how far I've gotten on that. It's so creepy. I love it. This is one that I am absolutely going to finish this year. There's not very much stitching to these. This is Alforce Embroidery Baba Yaga. It's a, one of the kits. There's a whole series of these. There's the Kikimora. There's Father Mushroom, which I finished. And these are really small. Like they're really quick stitches. So this is Baba Yaga. And I'm using like the fabric and floss that came in the kit. And here's where I'm at. See, I could totally finish her. And I will. I will. Another one I think I could finish is the Alforce Embroidery Alice in Wonderland. This was their free stitch along in 2021. It started in like May of 2021. And I think I'm about halfway done, and these stitch up really fast. So I'm using all the called for floss, and I'm stitching this on 40 count Vintage Country Mocha. And like each section that would come out would be like a day of stitching. Like it's not that much. So that might be one that I attempt to finish. I'm sorry I don't have a printout of the finished pattern to show you, but you kind of get a feel for it from that. This was when I was doing like Alforce Mania in May of 2021. So I have like 5 Alforce whips in a row because I was just starting all the Alforce. This is Enchanted Forest. It's a kit, but it's one of their bigger kits. So it looks like this. So I'm stitching this on the called for fabric with their floss. And I have more done on this than I thought. Their kits even come with a little needle minder. I didn't know I had that much done. I'm impressed with myself that I got that far. This is the last Alforce. This is the Queen of Hearts. And this is one that has a lot of like beads and Swarovski crystals and metallic floss. Like it's very fancy. And I'm stitching, I think this is what is this fabric? Oh, I think this is Vintage Country Mocha, but it's 32 count Jobelin. And here's where I'm at. Isn't that beautiful? It's really fun. Like these are done with specialty stitches. So yeah, there's Krynic, or it's DMC metallics, and I haven't added the beads and the crystals yet, but there's a lot going on in this pattern. It's going to be so beautiful when I'm done. It's going to be gorgeous. So this is Plum Street Samplers, Miss Bingley's Library. And I don't have a very big start on this. It's on a 40 count XG Design fabric in the color Light Nugget. And here's, so I was stitching all the fun stuff at the top, but I still got that big old house to do. The only change I made was I did make my girl redhead. And I'm going to change the flag too. It's just it's a Union Jack. And I think I'm going to make it like a pride flag or something. But I'm not up to the flag yet. So there's that. So then I started Pride and Prejudice by the Primitive Hare. This was a restart. I had started this years ago, and I didn't orient my fabric right. So like my fabric should have been like this, but I accidentally did it like this, and then I started it and I didn't have enough fabric to put the whole pattern on there. So I finally restarted this. But here's how it looks. So there's 2 versions. One is Lizzie and Darcy are in like a white, and one is they're in a like a 3371, like a black brown. I can't even remember which way I'm doing it. Oh, I'm doing the black brown. So this is a mystery linen. It's labeled as Shadowbrook, but like I can't find any linen with that name, so not really sure. It's beautiful. And here's my little start. I've got Lizzie outlined. I just need to fill her in. It's not much of a start. When I originally stitched this and then realized I had my fabric the wrong way. Oh my God, I just almost had a heart attack because I thought once again I had my fabric the wrong way. Anyway, when I originally started it, I had Lizzie and Darcy like both almost completely stitched. So it's a little bit of a bummer. All right, here's a huge project that I'll probably never finish. Oh my gosh. This is from Samplers and Antique Quarterly Needlework Magazine, I think is what it's called. This is 1816 Virland Sampler. So it's part 1 and part 2. So like part 1 was in one issue and part 2 was in the next. It's a huge Virland sampler. This is a stitched on a 46 count tea dyed linen. The floss I'm using is Classic Colorworks Go Emerald, which is a super deep, dark emerald green. And I have the tightest margin. It's such a big pattern. Even on 46 count, like I wanted it to fit on a fat quarter and it barely can. So 46 count barely can fit on a fat quarter with like a 1-inch margin here. So I have the smallest margin over here. So I started in the center and then went across just to make sure it was gonna fit because I knew my margins were really tight. But yeah, that's all the farther I got on it. Which is not terribly far. All right, Witchy Stitcher Cryptid Sal. This was her 2021. And then in 2022, she did the Supernatural Sal, which I also started, and you'll see that coming up shortly. So this is this is how it'll look, the cryptids, when they're all said and done. I'm stitching this with, I think it's mostly all the called for colors. I might have tweaked something here and there, like to get it to show up better on my fabric. This is a 40 count Spiced Honey by Color and Cotton. And this is how far I got before I kind of fell off the wagon. It wasn't challenging to stitch. I just didn't keep up with it. It's great. It's a great pattern. I'll get back to it someday. So then I started Tiny Modernist Zodiac Signs. This is a huge stitch along. I mean, it's done now, but it was a very big stitch along. I'm stitching mine on 14 count Aida, so mine is enormous. And I dyed the Aida myself. And I think I'm using mostly the called for colors. So here's where I'm at. Mostly called for colors. Like I think I changed the skin tone on Virgo because I think she was just like a peachy color. So I gave her a deeper skin tone. Isn't she beautiful? Look how pretty she is. With that hair, she's gorgeous. Gorgeous. So I changed that. Otherwise it's the called for DMC, except for the border. I'm doing it in metallic because I'm a masochist. Oh my God. Like seriously, I think that's what has held me up the most on this project is this whole border is in metallic, which we all know is a pain to work with. But yeah, look how big this thing is. Here's the top corner. Here's the bottom corner. It's big. But it looks great. It looks amazing. I just hate stitching that border, and that's my own fault. I did that to myself. This is Dark Crosses by Modern Folk Embroidery. So Jacob at Modern Folk Embroidery has on his website, he has all his like traditional beautiful stuff, and then he has a section called Dark Crosses, and it's all like his like more like spooky or macabre, like his darker themed stuff. So this is Edgar Allan Poe, Spirits of the Dead. And I'm stitching this on linen from Fairy Wool in the Wood, I think is the... Yeah, Fairy Wool in the Woods, Witchy Tina is the name of it. I think it's a 30 count or a 32 count. And I'm stitching this with a Color and Cotton floss in the color Caramel Brownie. and I've almost got the words done. I love this. I love it. Miriam at Marumi Crafts just finished this, and it looks amazing, and it made me think, I really want to get mine out and finish mine. We'll see. I need to see how much stitching is left on that. Maybe it can make the list for my 40. All right, I started another Owl Forest apparently, like randomly, that year. This is Dinosaur Forest. I love this. It's got little dinosaurs on it. So it was a kit, so it's all the called for floss and fabric. I didn't get very far on this one. There's that. I do love stitching with their floss. It's really it's variegated in a really beautiful, like satisfying way. From Liz Matthews, I have My Home in the Garden. And I am stitching this with, I did not have all the, I think it's stitched with Gloriana silks, and I didn't want to buy all those, but I also didn't want to just do DMC. So I actually converted it, like with using silks from my stash. Like I found silks that were like approximately the same color. And this is stitched on a Color and Cotton Fabric of the Month in the color Parthenon. And here is my little start on this. So I started Lindy Stitch's Autumn Royalty. This is such a cute little pattern. So they look, let me turn it the right way. So they look like this. It's a trio of smalls. And I'm going to stitch mine on a band sampler fabric. So I'm just going to stitch like just 3 in a row, all on one piece of fabric. So this is a 30 count linen, band linen from Nikki's Creations. It's 28 count German banding that she like tea and coffee dyed herself. And so I've got to start on the count of Candy, and then I'm going to just do, I think it's Prince of Pies, and then I can't remember the next one. I'm going to do all 3 on this. I'm not using the called for colors. I think it's just stuff that I had in stash that was the same color. Oh gosh, this is one of my favorites. This is Fox and Rabbit, Mary Morgan's. I say it every time, this picture does not do it justice. I think the printer, like it just came out too dark when they had these printed. It's more like bright and vibrant than what the cover shows. And when you see, like, I remember when they showed it on their Flosstube, I was just like dying because it was just so bright and wild, and I love it. It's like, it reminds me of like a Lisa Frank. So I'm stitching mine on a 46 count fabric from Barbaral Creations, and the color is Dijon, and I'm using the called for DMCs. So here's where I'm at. And then I have one last WIP for 2021. This is Wild Violet Cross Stitch Emily Dickinson Birds. This is just a black and white print out of this. This is such a small pattern, like in terms of the amount of stitching in it is really minimal, and I just need to get, this would be such a quick finish if I just get it and do it. This is on a mystery linen. I don't know what it is. The floss is Barbaral Creations Black Tulip. It's a black and purple subtle variegation. And here's, I have a little start, but it would still be such a fast finish if I just get back to it. No, it's definitely on my list of like my 40 things to finish this year. Okay, we're into 2022. And I only started a couple things in 2023, so we are going to be done soon. We are. So for my birthday, no, it wasn't my birthday. I made that up. For my New Year, New Start, January 1st, I restarted my Outlander chatelaine. So this is Chatelaine Alpine Garden Seasons is the original pattern, and then she released an Outlander version of that pattern. She just made a few little tweaks to the pattern to make it fit Fraser's Ridge and Outlander. So she added like some cute strawberry things. She added like the Fraser family motto, like a tartan plaid, just a couple little tweaks that she made to it. Here's a terrible printout of how it will look if you did it on dark fabric, which I am not. Here is how the bottom half looks on a lighter fabric. So yeah, I restarted this because I had originally started it with the wrong fabric. Rookie mistake. So now I'm stitching it on a 28 count fabric flare, and it's called Historic Green, and I'm much happier with it. And I have the center motif done. And this is like, there's a lot of over one in here, and it was quite a lot of stitching, so it took me a minute there. But I did get that done. So there it is. And then here's the other Meridian Designs mermaid that I've started. This is Melee, or maybe it's Meili, the South China Sea Mermaid. So she's another plumper mermaid, and she has Asian descent. And I just think the colors are so beautiful. Look at this little sea turtle. He's so cute. It's such a beautiful pattern. I'm using all the called for, like Dinky Dyes, DMC, Krynic, like all of that. This is, what is this fabric? I have no idea. You know what? I think this was a Be Stitch Me, like, box. Oh, here it is. Okay. It was a Halloween box from Bestitch Me, and it's a 32 count Lugana, and it's called Haunted. And here's my little start. I don't have very much done on her. But isn't that fabric gorgeous? Doesn't that remind you of like a tropical, coastal, like island, tropical sea? It's beautiful. All right, well, this is a big one. This might be my biggest project. This is Halloween at Hawk Run Hollow by Carriage House Samplings. This was one I resisted for years, and then I finally broke down and started it. And I dropped it. I started this on, I'm using DMC. I didn't get all the MPIs. I'm using DMC. And this is a Fiber on a Whim. And I think the color is Dunes, I think. Dunes or Parchment. And I started in the center because everybody seems to get hung up on that block. So I wanted to kind of get it over with. So I started in the center with the cauldron, but I haven't stitched the witches yet. I love it. I'm not going to be getting back to it anytime soon. All right. So I started Primitive Needle Tombstone Spots. This one is for Primitive Needle, it's on the smaller side, I think. It's not like a Witch's Hollow or Blackened Sky level. I can't remember if I'm using the called for colors on this or if I'm substituting. I think I'm using all the called for colors, actually. I think I have them all. And this is on a Color and Cotton Fabric of the Month in the color Balmoral. Balmoral? I never know how to say that. It's a castle, but I don't know how to say it. Balmoral. And here's my little start. I only got I think I got 1 day, maybe 2 days on this. I didn't get very much on this. I love it. I just didn't get, I must have had something else going on at that point in time, and I couldn't like really get in there and focus and commit. This is Plum Street Samplers Spring Moon. This was exclusive to Fox and Rabbit for quite a while, but now Paulette has released this to where anybody can grab it, like through any retailer. But I was gifted this from Karen at Fox and Rabbit because she knew I loved it, and she gifted me the fabric and I think some of the floss, but I don't remember exactly. I think she didn't have like all of them, so she like sent what she had. But anyway, it's stitched on 36 count baked clay, which is just the most beautiful fabric. So here's my start on Spring Moon. And I'm using the called for colors if I had them, and then if I didn't have them, I was just using something like equivalent from my stash. Speaking of Karen at Fox and Rabbit, we started The Moons of 2022 by Kathy Barrick along with Julie, who is not a Flosstuber. She's Jules Darling on Instagram. And then we also, why am I blanking? Was it just the three of us? I think it was just the three of us that started it, but then Sarah, Memphis Sarah, also joined in on our full moon stitch along. And the thought was that like every full moon, we would get this out and work on it, but that didn't happen. That didn't happen. A lot of it was me. It was, I'm not blaming anyone else. It was me. Anyway, this is on a 40 count fabric. It's Fortnite Fabrics, grandma stuff in. And here's my little start. Right here, and I have not stitched on a full moon for at least 6 months now. So the Witchy Stitcher Supernatural Sal, I don't have a printout of the finish of this. I am very sorry. I started this, I got further on this one than I did on Cryptid, and this is on a 40 count color and cotton fabric of the month. I can't remember what the name is. And here's how far I got. See, I got way further on this one. But then inevitably, I fell behind. I always have the best intentions. This is one I plan to maybe finish this month for Christmas in July. Kissmas in July. This is Embroidery Christmas by Nikki's Creations. It's a super small little pattern. I apologize, I don't have a printout of the pattern. I'm just stitching it from the PDF, but I think it's charted maybe with DMC, but I pulled like random floss from stash for it, I think. And this would be such a fast finish if I just get back to it. So hopefully you'll be seeing that really soon as a finish. It's just a small little cute pattern. So from Innocent Bones, I had bought 3 plastic canvas kits and I finished one of them. So then I started a second one. So here is I Am the Moon. And here's where I'm at on this. I'm going to flash it really quick because this is the pattern, but I don't think you're going to be able to do anything from it. But here's kind of an idea of how it's going to look when it's done. And this is my car project. So it gets stitched on about once a week in the car. This is Autumn Lane Stitchery Dark Queen of the Earth. Oh my gosh. This is a 28 count Monaco that I dyed myself. I have so much stitching in this. Look at that. That bottom bit was so much stitching. This stitch along is finally nearing the end. I think next month is like back stitch and beads. I'm gonna make some changes. I did as charted all the way up until this point, but I'm just gonna tweak a few things. The bulk of the stitching is done though. Actually, I didn't even know I'd done this part. I don't remember doing this. I thought I still had to do the bodice, so that's cool. I have less than I thought I did. There's like a whole bunch of branches that kind of come up above her, and I can't do it. I can't do it. It's like 5 or 6 shades of brown, and it's just not fun stitching for me. It's super fiddly, and brown isn't a fun color to like stitch something super fiddly in. So I think I'm just gonna cut off the arch of branches above her. I think I'm just not gonna stitch them, and I think she'll be fine. She doesn't need it. She doesn't need it. It's beautiful. It looks great. I just don't think I even need it. So that's the story on the Dark Queen of the Earth. All right. This was Halloween Shepherdess by Nikki's Creations. This was in Just Cross Stitch Magazine, the October 2022 issue. And I'm stitching this, which is the called for DMC. We're almost done, and thank God, because my voice is getting froggy. This is 4 40 count sampler gold from Color and Cotton. And here's my little start on this. Not much, I know. It was a very small start. But it'll stitch up so quick. And then I started Uncanny Kari dropped this pattern. I remember, and I like bought it and started it like immediately, like within a day or two. This is Midnight at the Pumpkin Patch. I love this. This is a 14 count Aida. And I did tweak the colors a titch. Like I think the greens are the called for, but for the pinks, I punched them up and made them just a little more like a hot pink. They were just like a more muted 2 shades of pink. And so I just made mine like pow. And I love it. I'm sorry I don't have a picture of like the completed, but there's a little bit more down here at the bottom I have to do after I finish this side over here. I love this pattern. All right, so this is like my one unfinished Hemlock and Rye release, and it's because I just knew I wasn't gonna get it done by Christmas, and I really wanted it to come out, so I released this without like having the model done. But this is a Holiday Rooster sampler, and this is on 40 count Eureka from Fox and Rabbit. And here is where I'm at on this. It's so gorgeous, and I need to get this done. And I need to cut off all this extra fabric. This is the bottom, and look at all this I have. So this is a fat quarter of Eureka, so it will fit on half of a fat quarter. So then it would fit on a fat eighth, maybe. It's gorgeous. There it is. That will be done someday. So another one, I'm sorry I don't have like a mock-up of, because these are all things I purchased like as PDFs while we've been on the road, and I don't have a printer, so I can't go print the pattern. So this is Park Hopper Bart, Be Merry All. This is a collaboration with Evertotes. And so you could buy like the Roxy Floss pack, which I didn't do because I didn't have an address to ship it to. And you could buy the fabric, which I didn't do. But this is Fox and Rabbit Eucalyptus. This is a 32 count, I believe. Yeah, it's a 32 count. And I just grabbed floss from Stash that was in the same tone. And I plan to finish this, hopefully, for Christmas in July. We are almost done. We have like 4 left. We're getting there. This is Modern Folk Embroidery Reaching Skyward. This is an ongoing 2023 stitch along, but the pattern came out like a week early in 2022, so we could like get supplies and stuff together. So I did go ahead and start mine like at the end of 2022, and this is how far I'm at. This is how far I am. That's the word I was looking for. I think I'm still on March. Yeah. Changing all the colors, but that is a gorgeous pattern. My last start of 2022, on December 31st, I started the Fox and Rabbit Mystery Stitch Along for 2023. So this is still ongoing. We don't know how this is going to look in the end. But here's my start, which is not much. I think this is February, and I didn't even finish January. This whole urn is January, and then over here was February. But anyway, this is on Ballet Slippers by Fox and Rabbit. I think it's 36 count, and I'm using a Karen Water Lilies silk for that. All right, and now we are into 2023, and I only have 4 projects because I have been so focused on finishing those 40 WIPs this year that I'm really not starting things because I just can't afford. I can't afford to. So on New Year's Day, January 1st, I did start the Beatrix Potter sampler. This is originally, I think it was needle print designs. They sold the rights to Stitchy Box. So now you can get this pattern from Stitchy Box. You can get it as a PDF, or you can buy a printed pattern. And I just have a little start. I started in the center. This is a 40 count Verdal even weave that I walnut dyed. And then here's just my little start in the center of the Beatrix Potter sampler. And I bought the digital version, obviously, so I don't have a printout. And I'm stitching this with a Floramel silk floss from Gloriana in the color Havana Brown. It's a brown blue. It's like a bluish, grayish, brownish. It's really pretty. And I do feel bad, but I had such a tiny little start on that. And I'm the one that like made everybody stitch along with me on that. And everybody who joined the stitch along is so much further than me. But it's fine. It's fine. All right. So this was, when I saw this pattern, I was just like freaking out. I had to have it, had to start it. This is from Just Cross Stitch magazine. This was the February 2023 issue. And there's a whole series, all 4 seasons will be done, but this was the first one. It's Mother Nature Winter. The artist is, the designer is Stitchora. And this was my birthday start on January 29th of this year. And I did a 28 count Monaco, and I dyed it myself, and I'm like obsessed. I was trying to get it to look like Aurora Borealis. So there's like the neon green, and I didn't get the purples to quite show up how I wanted, but I still think it's so beautiful. And this was so complex to stitch. It's just like tons of confetti, tons of back stitch, but the effect is incredible. It looks gorgeous. It's just, it's so hard to stitch, but it's so pretty. All right, so then I started a Heaven and Earth Designs. This is Meeting on the Turret Stairs. This was a watercolor painting that I got to see in person in Dublin. It is absolutely breathtaking. And this is my start on my Hade. I think I'm like at 7%. It's a small, you know, I bought like the smallest version of it. So, it's gorgeous. So this is a 28 count, and I'm trying to remember how I'm doing it. I'm doing 2 strands over 1 tent stitch so that I can still do a loop start, but I only have to do like the half stitch. And 2 strands on 28 Monaco gives good coverage. And then my last WIP, this was I impulse joined a stitch along. This is Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery Castle Homecoming. Every year they get me with their stitch alongs, but this one especially, I love the castle theme. And then there was a dragon, and I was like, I've got to do it. So I'm all caught up on this for now. This is 2 parts have been released, and this is a 32 count Mystic Fabrics in the color Sweet Treat. And I'm using like the called for DMC, and then I substituted a couple like sparkly metallics in there. So that is WIP number 88. I can't finish that because I'm awaiting the pattern, but I'm all caught up on it. So it's a finish for now. So that is my WIP Parade. Thank you for sticking with me if you made it all the way through. I know that's a commitment. WIP Parades tend to be very long, and I'm sure this one was no exception. I do love WIP Parades, and I do appreciate everyone who films WIP Parades because I know how much work it is. I've filmed several over the years, and it is no joke. The sheer amount of work, and then like your body will literally be like aching at the end. My throat is like scratchy. I'm getting froggy. Like it's a lot of talking. It's a lot of work. So I do appreciate everyone who puts the work in to give us these WIP Parades, because like many of you out there, I absolutely love, love, love to watch a good WIP Parade. So I hope you enjoyed this one. I'll see you next time. Bye.